Hello and welcome everyone to the August edition of the New World of New Business. So I'm hoping that there's lots of you with us. I know lots, in fact, it feels like the whole world is on holiday at the moment, apart from me, although I have just been on lots of holidays, which I will talk to you about at some point during today's webinar. But for those of you that haven't joined us before, welcome. My name is Katie Street. I am the host for this webinar, but also the founder of Street Agency. We specialize in B2B, I guess, attracting and winning more new clients, mainly for agencies. So if you're an agency or a business in the marketing sector, that's mainly who we work with. And today we are going to be talking about everything you need to know about entering awards and how they can actually help you attract and win more new business. Now, to have this conversation, I have two fantastic people with me. And in fact, I'm going to let them introduce themselves today. So Ben, because on my screen, you're next to me, let's come to you first. Can you say hello to our lovely guests today and introduce yourself?
Hello, guests. My name's Ben Jaffé. I'm CSO of FCB INFERNO in London. And yeah, that's who I am.
Yeah, and an amazing agency. So we've been talking to you guys for a little bit about new business and strategies, haven't we, Ben? And they are, well, a very highly awarded agency, but with some of the most famed work. And Ben's got some really good stories around how new business has been attracted through awards and how it's helped them outside of the kind of normal things that you guys maybe, front of mind initially. So really excited to listen to everything that Ben's got to say today. And then I also have, looking fabulous with her matching red top and red lipstick, the lovely Amber. Amber, would you like to introduce yourself as well?
Hi, everybody. My name's Amber and I'm a consultant for a business called Boost Awards, and we're an awards consultancy. So we help businesses enter and hopefully win business awards. And that's everything from helping you choose which awards to enter, to producing the entries on your behalf, doing graphic design presentations, and helping you really evidence those entries with strong data captures. Anything to do with awards, we can probably do it for you.
Amazing. Thank you, Amber. I'm so excited about this conversation today. I've already, in our little pre-catch up, we of course joined slightly earlier, 10 minutes before, and it started making me think, gosh, I need to enter more awards for Street. So it's already got me thinking, and I hope it's going to do the same for all of you guys with us today. So I haven't mentioned it already, but a little bit of housekeeping. If you've got a question, please do pop it in the Q&A little box down below. Also, please feel free to introduce yourself to our other guests in the chat. Usually the chat kicks off. So yeah, please do say hello to each other, but try to put your questions in the Q&A just so I make sure that I come to them. It's going to be a really interesting conversation today. So I'm going to kick things off because I feel like awards often, not controversial, but a lot of people are like, oh, they're not really, worth entering. It's just a badge. Every agency says that they're an award-winning agency. It doesn't really mean anything. Now, I totally disagree with that. And I know, some of the agencies that I have worked with and for in the past, the ones that do really, really well do regularly enter awards. And it really helps with your reach, your engagement. And there's so many other things that awards can do for you. So Amber, I'm actually going to come to you first, mix it up, and then we're going to come straight to Ben with a story about exactly how this works. Why do you think businesses should be entering awards? What's, outside of the, of course, badge of honor, what are the other benefits that come from entering awards?
Yeah, so like you said, there is an obvious sort of PR angle of having that logo or association with the awards organizers, but there's just so much more to it than that. So, I mean, in looking at the PR angle just briefly, there is a massive difference between a company saying that they have great customer service and a company saying they have award-winning customer service. It's that validation that you've allowed an independent party to put your business under a microscope and divulge, dissect exactly what it is that's good about your work. You've also got, other opportunities like attracting people to your business. You've got networking opportunities by attending these awards and being judged by industry peers. It's also a morale booster internally, which is something I think people often overlook. But yeah, it's it is a validation. It's from somebody that isn't your marketing or PR team that's saying, yes, do you know what, this product, this service, this brand, they're really doing something special. I think it's really important.
Yeah. The other one that I just think is, I mean, it gets you a huge amount of reach. The PR angle, it really does. It gets you in front of people that you maybe wouldn't have got in front of anyway. It starts to get you noticed. And that's, at the award ceremonies themselves, when you're sat there with potentially hundreds of people that are seeing your name on screen, but also of course all of the promotion that goes into that, even if you're just a finalist, it really does help you get noticed and starts to put you on people's radar. The PR and the reach element, for me as a kind of new biz and marketing expert, is really important. But I think one thing that maybe in my earlier career I hadn't really grasped was actually, when you're entering these awards, the judges are likely often to be your potential clients. So in the marketing industry, for instance, people like the Drum will have heads of marketing, or heads of brand, or heads of digital, or CMOs, etc., judging the awards. So the people that are judging the awards are potentially your future clients. So even if you're just entering and you don't get that that much further, the likelihood is you've got in front of 5 to 10, well it's different amounts of judges for different awards, but 5 to 10 potential clients that have seen what you've done and read about you and potentially could be a future client. And I found that really interesting. I had a lady, actually the CEO of Eve Sleep, come on to an event I did, and we were talking about that. I was like, how do you find agencies? She was like, that's why I judge awards. I find that future agencies that I want to work with by judging awards. That's her approach to recruiting an agency. And there's loads and loads of CMOs out there. In fact, I'm teeing up Ben, because that's the story that he's going to now tell us a bit more about.
Yes, it is very much that story. So a couple of years ago, we produced a campaign for the big issue in the midst of the pandemic, which was called Raising Profiles, which did very well in the sort of award circuit. And one of the awards that we entered into was the Drum PR Awards. And as Katie said, there was a jury committee, and one of the jurors was a lady called Tamara Pickett, who's the Group Communications Director of Virgin. And she was so taken with the case that she asked us to present it internally to Virgin Group. And off the back of that, they asked us to work with them to help them raise the profile of dyslexics and dyslexic thinking. And from that, we created a campaign called Dyslexic Thinking for Virgin and LinkedIn, which was hugely successful, both in terms of actually raising the profile of dyslexic thinking and also in terms of getting industry recognition. So it won Titanium at Cannes this year. But that was directly a bit of new business that was won from an award that then led to a societal transformation, and then was duly recognized by the industry.
Yeah,
so,
and I think there's so many benefits that you can get from entering awards, not just the obvious ones, in terms of reach, and obviously having that badge of honor when you're in a pitch, it's great, but there's so much more that it actually gives you. If you really start to dig deep, there are a lot of benefits to entering awards that really, I think, help with attracting and winning new business. And an agency I used to work with and for, both as a consultant actually as an employee, we were entering awards every single month. It was a big part of our new business strategy, and they're one of the largest agency groups, well, actually globally. So there is they used to be independent, they were bought because of that. So again, if you're an agency looking to be acquired, if you're continually entering those kind of awards, it's really going to help you get noticed as well, by your peers or your potential buyers. So it really is worth investing in that. So Amber, I'm going to come back to you for this next question. How do we find the right awards to enter? Because that is often a struggle, right? One, which awards should I enter? Two, what kind of award-worthy work do I have? So as an agency or any kind of B2B business, what's the starting point for looking at the right kind of awards to enter?
Yeah, it's incredibly important to pick the right awards. You have no idea how many times people will submit fantastic work, but put it into the wrong award or the wrong category and not see the recognition they deserve. So it's actually something that it's a service that we offer at Boost. And when we're talking to a client and we're trying to help them figure out which awards to enter, the first question we ask them is their motivation behind entering awards. Because you'll find when you get more experience with awards that the pool of awards for attracting talent might be different for a pool of awards for attracting new business. So you might be celebrating a product or service, or you might be looking at a cultural, diversity, inclusion, employee well-being pool of awards. And once we can do that, we can ask the client, what is the title that you want to see your name next to? Do you want to be recognized because you're innovative? Do you want to be recognized for your growth? Are you looking to celebrate a specific campaign, a specific product? Or are you wanting your overall business to be celebrated?
Oh my goodness.
It's okay. It's not a problem.
We tell everyone not to do that. Sorry, Amber.
It's no problem. And one of the things that you also want to look at, is the awarding body reputable? And is it prestigious? There are a lot of ways of picking which awarding body to go with. We tend to favour ones that we recognise. So you've got big companies out there like Awards International or Don't Panic, who we know from experience run reputable awards that are going to put you in front of the right audience. Also looking at if an award is run by a publication, are you going to get that additional PR after you've, hopefully won or shortlisted? Making sure that there's no untoward pay-to-win schemes or hidden costs anywhere. But yeah, it's picking the organizer is just as important as picking the title, because you want to make sure that you're going to have a chance as well. So it's a good idea to look at the previous winners of an award to get an idea for what they see as best and standard. And once you've sort of narrowed down, you want your title, which award organisers to go with, there are practical considerations. Do you want it to be UK based or international? What's your maximum entry fee? Are you willing to travel for a ceremony? Are you happy to do a second stage presentation? It's sort of a practical checklist once you've decided, yeah, this is the title we're gunning for.
Yeah, it's so important. You've got to, and this is the same with any marketing tactic. And at the end of the day, entering awards is a sales and marketing tactic to a certain extent. Well, it is. That's why we do it, really. You want to get recognised is thinking about where your audience live and the titles that they respect. So in terms of making sure that you're in the right place, you need to really understand, and maybe that's interviewing your clients, maybe that's, doing some desk-based research, but making sure that you're entering the awards that are going to really help you get noticed. And exactly like you said, I think that's so important, Amber, making sure that the places that you want to be and that you're living and breathing in are the places that you're going to get noticed. So you've really got to make sure you're spending your efforts in the right place, because there are so many. I get emailed about awards to enter all the time, and I don't enter them because I know I've never heard of them before. I know the ones that are going to get us noticed, and there are smaller ones, and there'll be another interesting concept here is that, and we've had some really good success with this. So if you are specialist in a certain sector, as well as, so let's just say most of you guys here, assuming you are at an agency, or in the marketing sector at least, is there are of course the marketing awards that you can enter that will cover everything. But then there'll also be, say you do a lot of work in pharmaceuticals or retail, there'll also be pharmaceutical or retail awards that that are bodies or respected titles within those specific sectors. So it's also worth looking at those, but you just need to do your research and make sure that you're entering the right ones. We've had really good success from I don't know, Retail Week or others like that, where we know our clients' audience are really, really focused and very interested in those titles. So making sure that you plan out and look at who you want to target, where you think they live and breathe is really important. Ben, coming to you on that, which awards do you guys regularly enter? You mentioned a bit, a couple of big ones. Obviously the Drum and the Cannes Lions. Are there any others that you guys have seen success with?
Well, we tend to focus on one show, D&AD and Cannes, in terms of sort of international award shows, and then in the UK, the Drum, Campaign Big Awards, British Arrows, those kind of things, as well as APG and IPA. But one thing I think it's important to note is we're not in the business of trying to win awards. We're in the business of trying to do great work. And when you do great work, awards should follow. So it's not that you're setting out at the outset to win an award. That shouldn't be your goal. It should be a positive byproduct. But we all want to produce great work, and we want to produce work that actually delivers tangible business results. And I think when you get that, then you feel like we're in a position now to actually do something. We want to get recognition for this, because this has been a great bit of thinking that's actually genuinely solved a client's business problem. So when it comes to the specifics of the categories that we enter into, we'll look at the problem that was set out at the beginning. What KPIs were put in place? How did we actually deliver against it? What were the specifics of the mediums that we used? Who did it reach? How did it do it? Et cetera, et cetera. And against that, then we can assess which awards are most appropriate. But I do want to reiterate that, we're not looking to win awards at the beginning. We just see that as a positive byproduct of doing great work.
Yeah. And sometimes it is, I have though had clients, Ben, where they have said, we want this, we've come to you because you won an award for, you guys have done some great ones. So let's just reference like This Girl Can, which is huge. We know that you've done this amazing work, and we want you to get us an award for something. And I have had briefs from clients that not in the agency world that I'm now in. Although I did have the other day, because we ranked as one of the top independent agencies, someone comes to us, we want to be a top independent agency. We want you to help us grow. So because we want to be in the top independent agencies. So sometimes you do actually get clients come to you as an objective, because it does help them get noticed. If you get your client an award, they're going to be so happy. They're going to be super proud of the work that you've done for them. And that's something that as an individual they can put on their CV. I've delivered X campaigns or X work that has won us these awards. That's something that not only helps their business but also helps their personal CV. Career. So it's really interesting. Yeah. Start to think about the added benefits that people get. It can not be a typical KPI, but it definitely can help, and some clients do really want that.
It can. And I think it also, it works obviously for clients, but also works for your workforce. So awards are a way of attracting talent, and talent could be your client list, but also actually the people who make up your teams. And at the end of the day, we are a people-based business, because it's people that develop the strategies, it's people that develop the ideas, it's people that actually put those ideas out into the world, and you want the best people around you. So if you can attract a talent through awards, that's a wonderful thing, because then you've got the workforce and team that can actually develop better work going forward, and it almost becomes like a virtuous circle, if you will. I think between client, agency, partners, talent, all fueling one another to get ever more, I don't want to use the word powerful, but positive in terms of the kind of output.
Yeah, it is. It's such a, honestly, I know I've had so many conversations about this in the past. People are like, there's a huge advantage to it. Ben saying it works for an amazing, very high profile agency, which I'm sure has, been, some of its growth has been powered by these awards. And Amber's got a whole business that all they do is awards. And I always recommend to enter awards, but I know lots of agencies will often challenge me on it and go, well, it doesn't really mean anything. It's just a badge of honor. It means so much more. I'm hoping that we've already started to, pull out some of the really interesting things outside of that badge of honor for you guys today.
Can I just pick up on another thing that you mentioned as well? Yeah. So, for example, with This Girl Can, I don't think we had a single client actually come to us and say, we want an award like you got with This Girl Can. It's not like we're looking for a glass lion or a fusion pencil or whatever like that. But I think what it does is it raises your profile and expertise in a specific area. And, you know, we are celebrated for our ability to speak to marginalized communities, transform the way that we connect with women, for example. And a lot of clients come to us for that very specific thing. So through the recognition of awards, it put onto a broader pedestal, and your expertise is then, you know, visible to a broader audience. And I think that's really the benefit, rather than necessarily clients coming to win an award per se.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. That's totally true. Now, guys, sorry, I can't even talk now. Sincerest apologies. You're all coming up in the Q&A going, we can't chat in the chat. I have worked out how to do it, and I can see you're all very busy saying hello to each other. So thank you, loyal New World of New Biz fans. I don't know what we did to disable the chat. That's never happened before. Clearly an update in Zoom that we didn't know about. So anyway, you can all say hi to each other now. And I can see lots of questions coming in. So I'm going to start coming to your questions, because I want to make sure that we're asking and talking about the things that really matter to you guys. So anonymous attendee, please do say hi in the chat if it was you, and I can name you, has said, as a startup, how can I best prepare my business to enter awards in the future? Amber, why don't you start with this one?
Something that we're very strong on at Boost is telling you if we're not sure if you're ready. So that's a really important factor, is if you've just released something brand new and you're very excited about it and you're looking forward to celebrating it, but you haven't been able to capture any sort of performance data, and the awards in question that you want to enter are very evidence heavy, then we would be there to say, take a step back, get some data, get 6 months worth of data at least, and then have a little look in the future of awards with deadlines that are later on that you might be ready for. And then once you're ready, it's pretty much the same for a startup as it is for an established business. It's reviewing the criteria of the awards you want to look for, and starting to make sure that you've got the work and the data to match that entry criteria, and that you're ready to start telling that story. I don't know if it's the right time to start talking about this, but at Boost, we have a expression that we always go through, and we say that you want 3 things if you're entering an award. You want an angle, you want innovation, and you want impact. You can win possibly with 2. You're not going to win with just the 1. You really are aiming for the 3. So the angle is the story you're telling. It's the business need that you're fulfilling. It's the why, and the why now. And it's got to be compelling enough for a judge to read it and go, do you know what? If they hadn't done this particular thing, I could see that causing real problems for your customers. Or this is a really exciting new thing that you're introducing. That leads into innovation. Innovation is quite hard to pin down. It's quite hard to understand exactly what innovation is. There's the obvious superlatives. It's the first of its kind. It's the largest of its kind. It's something your agency has never tried before. But innovation can sort of appear in many ways. It could be that the way you approach a challenge is innovative, even if the product itself is quite commonplace. And then that leads into impact, which is, do you have the data? That's why if we say you're not ready, you don't have any data, we're not going to push you into entering data heavy awards. You want to be able to say, customers love this, but then back it up with hard evidence. Have you got feedback? Are customers changing their behavior as a result of the project or initiative that you're talking about? And is that helping you grow as a business, and can you prove it? So that's sort of the criteria that we would ask you when you're approaching an award. Can you fulfill those points?
Yeah, so true. I think, you know, to go back a further layer, and Maisie, I hope this has started to answer your question as well, which is right, what are the right foundations that an agency needs before entering awards? I also think, you know, to go a layer back, which you did reference there, Amber, is, you know, what do you want to be noticed for? What do you want to be known for? What is your, you know, differentiator in the market, and or what are your values as an agency? Because if you can be entering the right kind of awards that are going to help you show up in the way that you want to show up, that helps differentiate you, then you can start to, you know, think about that at, you know, at the start of projects. What is it that we do really differently, or that we help clients achieve. And that's what you want to start to show through your awards, because that's what will really get you noticed by those judges. And also when you're putting those, awards out into the market and you're sharing your wins and you're talking about everything that you did, I think that's, that can really help you attract and win new clients, because it's helping position you in the way that you want to be positioned. So next question, David Lewis. One of the biggest challenges we face is clients blocking entries due to confidentialities. I know, isn't that annoying? This is a really good question. And awards judgments needing greater transparency in ROI, which is really tough, because sometimes clients just don't want. We've done some great projects when I used to work for agencies for really big businesses, and the amount of time it takes to get it signed off is really, really tough. So how do you suggest we get around this? Now, I've got a little tip here. We actually used to put it in our contracts, which I guess up front, sometimes they would say no, but most of the time we would say, look, we want to win, and we would just write it into our contracts. We want to help you win, award-worthy work, which, is going to be beneficial for us and for you. Are you happy for us to do that? And we would say the same about case studies. We would like to be able to put the work that, this project that we're doing for you on our website. So if they're really against it, up front, you'll know, and from the off that you're not going to be able to case study that work. Hopefully they agree to it, it's in your contract, and then you can do it. So I would say the earlier you can have that conversation, the better, because it's going to enable you to, do some really, really good work, and also early on start tracking the right data points and the ROI, because you'll go, right, well, we kind of know what we're going to do here. We kind of know the right awards. We kind of know, or maybe if you've been really good, you might know what the criteria is. Not saying that you're, like you were saying earlier, Ben, that you're just doing the work to win an award, but at least it helps you set out, as a marketing team, what your objectives might be, and know that might be coming, and know when the work's roughly going to finish, etc. So planning ahead, I would say, helps. I don't know if you guys have got any tips on that as well.
I mean, there is. Oh, sorry, you go, Ben.
There you go, go on.
I was going to say, something that we always do before we enter an award for a client is we check with the awards organisers what their confidentiality policy is. Sometimes they will have it quite clearly stated on the website that they might publish a summary, but then the rest of it is confidential. If they don't say anything about confidentiality, we contact them and we ask, are you going to publish any of this? And that usually helps us sort of assuage the fears of our clients that their financial information is going to end up all splashed all over the internet. We would address that immediately before we even put pen to paper.
Yeah, that's a great way as well, checking.
That is indeed. What I was going to say is, I think, historically agencies seen awards as their award, and the client is just sort of privy to it. But actually it should be positioned that this is our award, this is your business award, and this is a recognition of the success of your brand in achieving the results it needed to achieve. So if you make it very much, this is not about the agency, but this is about you, and in fact us, winning this collectively, then they feel like they've got more skin in the game. So I think actually getting access to that kind of critical information that shows the efficacy of the campaign is easier. So it's back to Katie's point at the beginning, excite them about the potential and what it can mean for their business, their brands, and in fact their career too. So yeah, get those things in place, and they should be a bit more free with the information they share with you.
Yeah, sell it in. We're constantly selling to our clients, aren't we? But it's so true. It is going to help. It is going to help them. But sometimes there are certain businesses that you do have to be careful. But you'll be surprised if you have those conversations up front. You'll be able to enter a lot more awards, because you can plan for it, and the client knows that you're going to want to do that for them. David has also asked, good question again, can you win too many awards?
I guess you can become desensitized to their meaning, and maybe you become complacent, and perhaps your focus is misaligned because you're too focused on the awards rather than actually doing the work. So it's it's not always an easy process. It takes time to win awards, and you have to, write a compelling narrative that is robust in its argument, and as Amber says, have a willingness to do follow-up presentations, those kind of things. So it is time consuming, and if too much of time is focused on awards, then perhaps you're not servicing your clients on a day-to-day business. So possibly yes.
Yeah, you could look like, I mean, again, goes back to, I guess, to earlier points, doesn't it, that you want to make sure that the awards that you're entering are the right awards and that are going to get you noticed, and that there's a reason that you're entering those awards. But the other thing, I know, Amber, we've spoken about this previously, is to enter lots of awards, you can't just write one entry and submit it to everyone, because the criteria of every different entry, usually, although the ROI and the stats and the results might be similar, the way that you need to structure your entry needs to be different. So in order to enter lots and lots of awards, you can't just write one entry and then just bump it off to everyone. You've got to, there might be a video asset or some assets that are reusable, but realistically, you're going to have to look at the criteria individually for every single award that you enter and structure your entry very differently. So it's going to depend on the size of your marketing team and the people that you have within the agency to help you do that. Amber, I don't know if you've got anything to add there as well.
Yeah, we don't like a throw everything at the wall and see what sticks approach. It's got to be a careful and considered approach, because the awards entries, like you said, they take time to write. You can't be writing them every single day. It does, like you said as well, depend on the size of the company. So we have some, financial giants on our books who, they can enter 100 awards a year because their operation is just that large and they have just that many projects to talk about. But you don't want to just be entering for the sake of entering. It circles right back to picking the right award, sending the right message, and being around the right audience. And there probably, for most industries, isn't going to be that many really prestigious awards that are worth putting your name to. Yes, little awards are great. They're a good little morale booster. But if you are going out to every single tiny award, you are just saturating the really important awards with badges and logos. It's got to be considered.
Yeah, so totally. Well, you've teed me up to the next question there, Amber, as well, which is, what would you say the most prestigious award for an agency to win is? I mean, Lions, surely, Cannes Lions, but I guess it depends what kind of agency you are, because if you're a digital agency, maybe, I don't know, Lions isn't as relevant for you. So yeah, I'd love to hear what you guys think. And I'd also love to know what everyone in the audience thinks. Now, for some reason, the poll hasn't updated this month either. So I feel like we're going to send out a poll after today. And also for anyone who listens on the podcast or listens later, we'll put a link in the show notes so that people can go and fill out the poll, and we'll share the results with you all. Because I think it's really interesting to know which awards people are finding useful and are entering. But Ben, first, let's come to you. Which awards would you say are worth entering, or do you see as the most prestigious and worthwhile entering for you guys at FCB?
It feels like a loaded question. Different awards have different merits. I think I've named the biggies in terms of what integrated creative agencies focus on in terms of One Show, D&AD, and Cannes. And obviously, if you can win a Grand Prix or Titanium, that's pretty good. So we're pleased about those kind of results. But it totally depends, and I think it's quite a good example, the one I shared earlier, in terms of it was the Drum PR Awards, and it happened that a jury member was so taken with the campaign that we then picked up new business, and then that led to great work and great results, and then further awards. So it's difficult to say. And I think you've just got to remember, you should focus on the work first and foremost. Do your best job of producing brilliant work, and when you do produce brilliant work, then I think you are eligible to celebrate it and enter it in for awards and get that kind of recognition. And to Amber's point, you should scrutinize the type of awards that you want to go in for the type of recognition that you want to receive, the type of position you want to take as is this the guy who's got a startup agency who's asking the question?
Who asked the question? Hang on.
I think it was someone called David.
Yes, it is. No, anonymous attendee.
Anonymous attendee.
But so therefore it might be the startup, because I think that was the same person.
Yeah. So, thinking about the kind of position you want to take as an agency, what kind of recognition you want to receive, and what further kind of business you want to win. So it depends on your size and scale, the types of communication that you produce, the types of audience you're wanting to connect with, the types of clients that you want to work with, etc., etc. So it's totally dependent on who you are and who you want to be and who you want to connect with.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. You've got to look at the market. We do actually have an awards calendar diary which we probably should publish for you all, which might actually be a helpful reference. So we probably need to do a bit of work on updating it, because of course a lot of awards didn't happen amidst lockdown.
Yeah.
People were struggling, and the awards landscape probably looks slightly different now, but we do have a calendar. So maybe that's something, just to give my marketing team a bit more work to do, that we can publish. Amber, are there any that you, and I will talk about some of the ones that I know and that we enter regularly ourselves and for our clients. Are there any that you particularly focus on in the marketing or agency sector?
Well, but it sounds like Ben hits the real biggies. The Cannes, for example, we know if we're going to get someone approached to that they mean business. So you talk about an awards calendar, but we actually do have access to our awards lists for free on our website. Our database is 4,000 to 5,000 awards now, so it is quite a hefty job. Hence why we have that planning service. But yeah, you can go on our website and you can select awards by industry or location, and they've all been vetted to make sure that they're legitimate and not pay to win schemes. I would say that every industry seems to have its own version of the Oscars, and I don't just work with marketing and PR agencies. I get agencies that work in the L&D space, that work on so I've got like utilities, I've got IT, so there are different real winners for each different industry. For example, I've got an agency that are a learning and development agency that every year they gun for the LPI Learning Awards and the Brandon Hall Awards. But that's it. It's about the industry. I wouldn't want to say too much about specific awards without knowing the industry. I'd say in the UK, the biggest accolade is probably the Queen's Award for Enterprise. That's the real meaty award out there, but that might not be something that agencies would be particularly keen on.
Yeah, there are so many, and like you say, it really depends on who you are and who you want to be talking to and where you think you might get noticed. But just to kind of riff off some that I have regularly entered, eConsultancy used to do some really interesting different awards, like the Innovation Awards, but also the eConsultancy Top 100, which was more around digital. I think we used to enter the Digital Impact Awards, Transform Awards. There were the Lovies, the Webbies. These are more kind of digital awards. Of course, the Drum have so many, and the others that we used to look at quite regularly would also be our partners. So if you've got tech partners or any partners that you work with, often they will have awards. So for instance, we used to be a Sitecore or an Adobe partner, so we would enter their awards because any Sitecore client, any client of ours that was on the Sitecore platform, we would want to be noticed, and we know that they would market that to everyone, all of their Sitecore clients who potentially could move away from their existing agency to us. So look at your partners, look at the industry bodies, look at the different like I said earlier, Retail Week or whichever sectors you work predominantly in, and that's a really good starting point. And I would say look at the big ones, because that's where you're going to get noticed. The ones which are recognised, that have got a bit of a PR and marketing machine behind themselves as well. But there's going to be so many, dependent on what kind of agency you are and what kind of clients you work with and what kind of work you do, because there's things like UX awards or digital awards or creative awards, so that marketing awards, there's a whole range. So it really will depend on the type of agency you are as well. Right, so we've got 3 more open questions. Sorry, we're jumping around a bit here. Maisie asked, following on from her earlier question, how can we recommend best collecting data for projects from clients? Everything to do with her projects is always sitting in spreadsheets, so it can be hard to pull those results together. Good question. I mean, I would say, going back to my earlier answer, and I hope this started to answer it maybe, is understanding the things that you need or you want to track from the awards point of view and making sure that you are tracking those. Sometimes it's really obvious, like we've entered awards, for instance, for people like cancer research, because we help them improve their donations funnel on their website, and it had like 900% increase in donations because we made some clever little tweaks based on, design and psychology that enabled them, by doing some small little things, that the amount of they got from donations went up by like 900%. We then used that as a case study, entered lots of awards, which we won because it was such an impressive stat. So sometimes the stats are so strong and the work that you do has such an impact, really, really obvious. And those are the best ones because, in my experience, the ones that have massive impact like that, and there's a huge, we knew what our objectives were. They needed to get more donations. So that was what we were briefed to do. That's what we did. And we had amazing results. So sometimes it's really, really obvious. So I would look at the KPIs of the project and the brief from your client, and, just to write a good case study, you need to do that. But also, to have a good client relationship, there's usually going to be, what are their KPI? Why are they doing this project? Usually your client will have some KPIs. So that, I would say, as a good agency, you should be tracking those things anyway. But there hopefully will be some things that, you can see there's a really huge increase, hopefully. And those are usually the ones that really help you get noticed. I don't know, Ben or Amber, if you've got anything to add there.
Well, I think I'm going to talk about the kind of the big award shows. I think there was a period when a lot of sort of purpose-driven work was winning, and for good reason, but there wasn't necessarily the results to back up the cases. And over the last sort of few years, there's been a real push to actually show tangible business results as a product of these cases, whether they be a social cause or something else. And I think more and more clients and jurors are looking for commerce with purpose. So when you can actually show that tangible business results, some sort of transformational thing, return on marketing investment that has moved the dial for the client and their business, not just the sort of brand recognition amongst media lovies and the advertising community, but has actually had real world impact. And I guess that ties very closely to Amber's tricolon of what was it? Ambition, something, and impact.
Angle, innovation, and impact.
There we go. Angle, innovation, impact. Write it down, people. I certainly should have done. But actually having very clear impact that has met and hopefully exceeded the KPIs that were set out at the beginning of a project. And in relation to actually one of the questions that was said earlier, so someone said sometimes it's quite hard to get information out of clients. Will they share sort of business results? Are they comfortable doing so? Sometimes you have to sort of push clients to establish very clear KPIs at the beginning of a project, like, why are we doing this? What are we actually trying to achieve? And I think time spent at the beginning of a project really actually looking to identify what is the problem that we're trying to solve, and what will success look like. That is super important. And once you've got consensus as an agency and client team around that, then you're in a better place to actually develop the work, and you've got a higher chance of realizing your ambition with a potential of also getting recognition through an award. So I think setting out at the beginning is super important, and then just remembering that we need to have that ambition, innovation, and impact.
Yeah, so true. Have you got anything else to add there, Amber, before I move on to the next question?
I would say that the impact sections, the data section, is probably the most important that we're dealing with the majority of awards. So even though that every industry has its own sort of representation of ROI, it is quite a formulaic approach if you're writing a lot of awards. Typically, we would want to showcase, what's the immediate reaction to your product service campaign? Are people engaging with it? So if it's a campaign, is it clicks and likes and shares? If it's an app, is it downloads or accessing it? So it's the very fundamentals. Are people using it? And then it's, do people like it? And do not underestimate the power of a great survey. That is something that you can do at any point, is pop out a survey to clients or to employees to say, what is it you actually like about this? Can you give me some verbatim feedback? Can you give me a satisfaction score? From there, your next layer of data is this driving the change in behavior? Are customers responding to the call to action that this product or service is representing? So if you are trying to get people to, it's a banking app, for example, you're trying to get people to save more money. Are they moving more money into their accounts? Is that behavior being demonstrated? And that should then translate into, is our business benefiting from these customers changing this behavior? Are we attracting more customers? Are we keeping our customers longer? Do they spend more? And is our revenue growing? It's sort of a multi-layered, from the top surface, scratch it, right the way down to how is our business performing on the whole? That's the basics of it. And yeah, surveys are great. It's something that we do at Boost. We offer our evaluation services and we can help clients write surveys, because it's not just about getting a nice soundbite, although we do like a nice soundbite for an awards entry. The benefits of a survey go far beyond awards, because then we're telling this business, this is what people are actually saying. This is the genuine response from your client base or your employees to this particular product or service. And sometimes they might find it's not as good as they thought it was, but that's value in itself. It gives them something to work on and something we can talk about in future awards.
Yeah, Amber, you're very good at teeing me up for the next question.
I'm not even practiced this. This is happening by accident.
It's natural. I'm going to have you on every month. So the next question was actually, what helps you win an award more? Is it the explanation behind the idea or the work itself? And I think you've probably started to give us some really good little hints and tips there. We often, and often as part of the award entry, you have to get testimonials, but I love the idea of surveys. But what other things are really important? Of course, the work needs to be good, right? There's standout work is going to be the first, I guess, identifier of it being award worthy. But the explanation and how you enter is also incredibly important, because if you can't articulate it and you're not showing up, even if it was brilliant, if you can't develop a good award entry, you're probably not going to win. I've been lucky enough to sit on both sides. I have been recently a judge for the Alfies, which was really interesting, and there was some really great work in there. But if the entry wasn't written well and had spelling mistakes, I kind of was like, well, you can't even write a good entry. I'm not going to award this to you, even though the work was good. So I mean, that's me being a bit mean, but I think probably most judges are like that. You've got to realize the judges are going to judge you on everything about the award. So what would you say are the most important parts? Obviously the work itself is important, but how do we develop a really good award entry?
I mean, I think there's a lot of practical things, like you said about spelling, they're so simple, but so important. I mean, obviously we've talked about the angle, the innovation, the impact. That's picking the right piece of work and telling the right story, but don't neglect the practical things. Look at the deadline and make sure you've got enough time to write it. Look at the actual questions on the form itself. So like you said, don't just content dump marketing content into a form. You have to sort of say, what are they asking me for? What do they want to see? Most awards will publish what their judging criteria is, so follow it. Get it proofed. Stick to the word count is something that sometimes people neglect. If you've got an electronic form, then it will cut you off. But if you're able to submit a free format entry and you've been given a 1,000-word limit, but you submit 5,000 words, a judge probably isn't going to read it. They're going to get bored quite quickly. So I think the practical requirements are maybe not quite as important as the quality of work, but they are still important. And that impression that you leave on the judges could be down to something as simple as ignoring a piece of instruction on the website and sending something that's too long, badly spelt, or not in the right format.
Yeah, so true. Ben, I'm guessing you've got a bit of experience here with developing and creating really standout awards. Have you got any fantastic tips on, for these really prestigious awards that you guys have won, how you entered them and what you think helped make you stand out?
I mean, there's so many things to be sort of mindful of, but in addition to what Amber's saying, I think a degree of craft and storytelling is super important, because jurors are going to be reading copious amounts of award entries, and it can take 30-40 hours, no joke, to read all these entries. So you have to earn their attention genuinely. We're in the business of communications, and the actual award entry itself is a piece of communication. You're trying to connect with a group of people who are going to go, yeah, that's a great piece of work. So I think genuinely writing is rewriting, not only just get into the word count, but actually thinking, can you say it in a more succinct, compelling way? Write it, read it out aloud, get other people who have had nothing to do with the campaign to read it, because when you've been so closely aligned to a piece of work, when you've been part and parcel of the sort of development of it, it's also familiar. So you assume a level of knowledge, and it's quite good to get an objective opinion, someone who doesn't have that same close relationship with a bit of work, to go, does this make sense? Does it stand up? Does it sound compelling? And are you delivering that information as clearly and as compellingly as possible? The other thing, is thinking about the earned media. What is people's response? So Amber referred to like surveys, but do you have did you get featured on, I don't know, Breakfast TV with Holly and Phil? Are they talking about it on Sky News? Make sure that you're getting the kind of heavyweights in there, amongst also the kind of social feeds and things that people are responding to, and just make sure it's given as much sort of care and love as the actual work itself, because if it deserves recognition, make sure you give it its just desserts, as it were.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I really think making sure that you're dialing up the really exciting things, not just in the written entry, but the other thing is, where you're allowed. Every award is different, but a lot of the time, certainly in the marketing world and specifically in the creative, you've got to upload assets, or sometimes you're allowed to submit a video, and if you've got time and the energy and the team to put into creating that, if you really want that award and you really feel it's a beneficial one for you guys to enter, then it is worth putting the time into developing something really good, and not making it too long, making sure it's punchy, because you don't want to, judges, like I say, they're time poor. These things often can take them hours and hours and hours to judge, or there might be a judging day that they go in with all the other judges and they're looking at things together.
Can I add one more thing? So our presentation to the titanium jury at Cam, traditionally the agency would present the logic and thinking and field the questions, but we saw this as a genuine partnership with our two clients. When I say two clients, the two brands we're working with, so Virgin and LinkedIn, and in fact we said, you guys should do the presentation. So our clients did the presentation to represent the whole, and I think the beauty of that was it showed a clear investment in the actual efficacy of the campaign rather than an investment in the award itself. And that speaks volumes. So getting your clients on board so they feel that they have part ownership, skin in the game, is really important, and utilize them because they work in marketing. They should be marketers, and they should want to win, and they should have the same passion and zeal that you have for the work. And if they do, make the most of it.
Yeah, so true. And that has made me think about another thing, which is, I don't know if this is my new business and sales brain coming in, but you definitely want to be able to take your clients to these things. It's a great way to build, especially if you worked on a project, if you want to work on future things with them, it's a great way to build a relationship with your clients. So taking your clients to these award ceremonies is great. But I must say, I have been to award ceremonies that we haven't even entered, just so that I can sit on the table with brands from other businesses, because you can often see who the attendees are, and one client's off the back of just sitting and made friends actually, but just by going to award ceremonies. So there's so many things around awards. There's nothing like going out for drinks with clients or meeting people in a kind of slightly less formal environment. So outside of winning the awards, often just attending the awards ceremonies and the connections that you can make at those kind of events are also hugely valuable networking events. So yeah, there's so many things that go into that. Right, we only have 4 minutes left, and look at that, we've kind of got through all the questions this month, which I'm very proud of ourselves for. Last question: how long should you keep mentioning an award win for? If you won one 5 years ago, is it still worth having it on your credentials? I mean, I would kind of say yes. It depends what it is. Something like This Girl Can. It's quite a campaign that happened quite a few years ago, but it's still well remembered, and it was an incredibly award-worthy piece of work. So that kind of thing, to a certain extent, can stand the test of time. So I think it depends what it is. You don't want I think you can kind of have in your Hall of Fame that we've won all these kind of awards for our clients. That is a really great thing to talk about. You don't want to be like pushing it out constantly, something that you won 5 years ago, but it might just be more like a badge of honor. Guys, I don't know what your opinion on how long you can kind of push these things for. Amber, I'm going to come to you first.
I think you've nailed it with how prestigious is it. Because I mean, you don't want to, I think where you store it as well. I think on your website, you should have a history of the accolades and awards that you've won, going back as far as you can. But if you're putting them, the little badges that you put on your email signature, people might question, are you still winning awards if you've got a badge from 2009 saying that you won a, customer service award in Northampton? It's very much, promote the big ones. Keep it as relevant as you can. Most of our clients enter awards annually. They don't tend to be one and done. So they tend to replace all their stationery, and all the social media hype gets rejigged every single year. But I think it's nice to keep a track record of it. Like I said, if it's on your website, if you have a Hall of Fame, or if you're still showcasing case studies of your clients' work, flag it that it was award winning. I think that's no problem.
Totally. Ben, anything to add there?
Well, people say you're only as good as your last result, right? So I guess you probably lead with your most recent awards, if it's the award story you're going for. But I think there is definitely scope to talk about previous wins as part of a bigger story. So it might have been, as Katie said, we have won awards in all these different categories at a specific show that shows the breadth of your capabilities. It might be that there have been successive awards won in a year or over a course of years. And that tells a story that we have, strength and depth and pedigree in actually doing this. But I think if it's the sole thing you talk about, we won an award, 5 years ago, that's quite good, isn't it? But you haven't got anything more recent to talk about, then maybe the ship slightly sailed on that one.
Yeah, context is key.
Context is key.
Yeah, it could do you a disjustice if, like, say, I'm one, I think 5 years ago, you were good 5 years ago, but you're not.
Yeah.
So it depends what else you've won since. Karen's just asked one more question. Sorry, guys, I can see it's 12 o'clock, and I'll answer it my opinion very quickly. Is if your work is in a secure membership-based business, I know this because I've done lots of awards like this, i.e., a platform for social workers, would at the end the awards judges consider just screen grabs in the submission? I would say if you're going to submit screen grabs, maybe show before and afters and bring it to life in some way. So if you can annotate it, that will really help you show. It depends what the award submissions allow, but don't just submit screenshots, because I think you really need to bring it to life, get your designers to annotate it, make it look good, and explain the changes you made. And then of course in your entry that can then turn into, you can see the results that kind of fell out of that. So that would be my tip. Thank you all for joining. I'm not doing the poll today because for one reason or another it's not updated, but we will share a poll with you afterwards. I'd love to know more about the awards that you guys are entering and successes that you're seeing with awards. So we will share a poll. I'll also make sure it's live in the show notes for anyone watching this on YouTube or listening on the podcast. So you can also go and fill it in, and we'll share the results in a month or two's time, certainly to everyone who signed up or attended live today. But yeah, a big thank you to my fantastic panelists. A thank you to everyone who's joined us. If you do want any advice on awards, of course, feel free to email me or either of our guests. We'll make sure that we send you their LinkedIn profiles in our little follow-up a bit later this afternoon. But otherwise, have a fantastic day and go and win those awards. So thank you all for joining. See you soon.
Cheers.
Bye. Bye everyone.